I just want to go through your upbringing, really. I mean, I don't know how accurate Wikipedia ever is, to be honest. But you were born in Guyana, is that right?
Does Wikipedia say I was born in Guyana?
I think so.
Oh, that's interesting because I wasn't.
Were you born in the UK?
Yeah, I was born in Croydon.
Okay, this is going well. Oh God, well, but did you spend time in Guyana at all?
Yeah, I was in Guyana from 1978 to 87.
Oh, okay, that's where my confusion lay. So I do apologize.
That is where I first heard your music.
Is it?
Yeah, that was the thing. Is that the argument about the documentary was that Let's Stay Together wasn't small. It couldn't have been because I heard it in Guyana.
And it wasn't small. It was the most popular 12-inch single in America at the time.
Right.
And
but we didn't hear about things in Guyana unless they were successful in America.
Yeah, and actually coming back to, and in those days it was quite a known thing to kind of break. A lot of soul acts would do well in the UK and then kind of transfer back to the US. It's hard to break the US. There's so much talent there, and there's such a big market. I mean, you might stand more chance coming from an outside location and gaining attention in Europe, and that's often what they thought. I mean, a lot of the Motown acts were spent more time in the UK than they did in the US, which is interesting, I thought. And but so you came back to the UK. You were born in Croydon, moved to Guyana, came back to the UK, and obviously you were always. When did you realise that you had a special vocal talent, shall we say?
I realised that it was special one night when I was tripping in about 1994.
Crikey.
I was at home with a little residue from the weekend, and I thought, no, it's a great idea. Let's pop something and have a listen to the music. And that was interesting because it seemed to separate me from whoever the guy on the vinyl was. And I thought, wow, my God, you're actually really good.
Wow.
Up until then, I thought that the people who were saying so might be onto something. And so I was thinking, well, this person has said this and that person has said that, so let's see.
Yeah. And how old were you at that time?
In 1990, I went to Middlesex Polytechnic, and there came a situation arose. I went there to study drama and minoring in dance and music.
Right.
And the situation arose whereby I had to sing, and it did actually have an effect in the room. And then I decided that I was going to come out.
Right.
But coming out also meant for me leaving the church that I was in.
Oh, that's a pity.
What am I going to do with my nights? What am I going to do with my spare time? And at that point, I thought, I know. There's this newspaper called The Melody Maker.
Yeah.
They advertisements in the back for singing. So let's give it a go and see if it works.
Crikey. And so and so you realise that, I mean, obviously your range is incredible. And that's quite an unusual range. I mean, it reminds me of, I mean, it's got a certain Philadelphia soul aspect to it, the kind of, what can we say? It's quite like, I suppose the OJs, that kind of thing, and
it's.
I mean, who were your influences at that point?
Well, I think that, like most British kids in the 70s, it was it begins with Top of the Pops, and absolutely, my mother's taste was an interesting combination of soul singles.
Right.
So we had Gladys Knight in the house, we had the OJs in the house, we had
Chi-Lites, by any chance?
No, stylistics.
Stylistics. Right. Archie
Bella the Drells. But then he also was like big on Perry Como and Bing Crosby and Dean Martin and people.
Right.
So my sister and I were always singing from really early on, and I remember one of the most remembered memories from watching Top of the Pops when I was a kid was the what seemed like a ritual that went on for weeks, and it did because it was number one for weeks. Was me and my sister putting T-shirts on our heads for Bohemian Rhapsody. So it'd be like,
oh my God.
Okay, it's Bohemian Rhapsody time.
That was brilliant. I love that. And so, in terms of your influence, in terms of your singing, what? So you had a wide range of a variety of different influences. Then, so you actually, I mean, I grew up in a family of older sisters, and they had a similar mixture of soul and pop music, and it's more like the Beach Boys and the Beatles and stuff like that. But they loved soundtrack music as well. Was there any of that in your house?
Soundtrack music.
I mean, I like it, musicals, should we say?
My mother gave me a mighty gift very early on. I don't know if she was just buying what parents buy for their kids. What I found really odd about it was that she bought me that soundtrack to The Sound of Music, not the movie, the original Broadway cast recording. And I don't know to this day why she went into a shop and thought that her son should have this Mary Martin original Broadway cast recording of Sound of Music. I learned The Sound of Music before I'd heard Julie Andrews singing it. And then later on, I got the Julie Andrews version for myself, which is something that's really close to my heart, especially since I discovered that it goes that Rodgers and Hammerstein were actually referencing the ancient world.
Yeah.
I had no idea about that until relatively recently. But the other album I had that I really loved, and I just found it like this year, was a K-Tel Disney album. But it wasn't the Disney original recordings. It was the Alan Ainsworth singers.
Oh my goodness!
And a load of British British singers singing things like Ugly Bug Ball and Winnie the Pooh. And I think the versions of this album were better than the Disney original.
Really?
There's a guy called Ronnie something. I forget his surname. Something like Ronnie Hilton or something.
Ronnie Hazelhurst? No. Oh no, you mean the singer? Ronnie Hilton. That he was a singer, yeah.
Yeah, his version of Ugly Bug Ball is vastly superior to what Burl Ives does with it.
Really?
Yeah. So, kiddie soundtrack. Yeah, we had the soundtrack for Mary Poppins, but it was that sort of music that was coming in.
And did you fancy yourself as kind of being part of a kind of stage musical thing at that point? Did it ever occur to you?
Busted. Totally busted.
That
was why
I'm not surprised.
I was going to be a singing, dancing.
Right. Jazz hands, tap dancing, the lot.
Could not dance.
Oh, give over.
No, I mean, I can dance. But when it came to like 1, 2, 3, 2.
Oh, right. Yeah.
The counting completely killed me.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I left the university to because I signed a publishing deal to Chrysalis Music, but I really despaired of the dance. It was like, oh my God, I can't count.
Give over. What about when did you realise that you were quite good at songwriting then?
Well, now there's a question, because that's arguable, isn't it?
Oh, it's not arguable. Come on, if somebody gives you a publishing deal straight off, that's no joke,
Yeah, but then isn't good songwriting sort of based on how well you do in terms of response to what you write?
Yeah, but I'm just really judging by, say, you're a teacher, I'm a teacher as well. I teach a lot of students. they would kill to get a lot of them would kill to get a publishing deal straight out the traps. So how did that come about?
The songwriting,
Yeah.
do re mi.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean anything, so he puts in words, one word for every note that goes a little something like, when you know the next. That's why I think, quite seriously, that Sound of Music is so powerful, because up until then, that's an ancient truth. And then Julie Andrews is chosen to deliver this message.
She's your guru. Yeah.
I would love to do a survey of musicians of my generation who saw Sound of Music and heard that, don't worry about it. Once you've got the notes, add the words, and you're off. That's what I've been doing ever since, because I don't play. I don't.
Yeah, top line. You top line.
Yeah, totally top line.
Really interesting. So what was your first commercially released recording?
Probably a EP for my manager's low profile label.
Right.
Early on, it was us, a group called Disco Inferno. Do you remember them?
No, I don't know a group called Disco Inferno. No.
I think they were signed to Cherry Red Records, and
Right.
might have been Ultramarine or something, but it was a small CD EP, limited edition of 4 songs. I think that was the first time that I put anything out.
Okay. And what year was that?
Would have been 92, 93.
And if you could have aspired to be someone at that stage, who do you think? Who did you have front of mind going, if only I could be that person? Oh, no, if only you could. Yeah, because I really criticise young people at the start of their career for going, I just want to be successful. I think it's actually quite a negative attitude to have, because you should be more focused on developing your craft, and then it will happen if it's meant to happen.
Well, I think if I'm thinking about that period, I'm emerging from the late 80s. So we kind of, we've just come, we're sort of on the edge of Thriller's success.
Yeah.
Sort of in the heart of Janet Jackson's success. And so I think if I were to answer that question, which I can't remember, it would be one of the Jacksons.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had it all.
Yeah.
And I'm 5 stars.
I'm 5 stars.
But no kidding. I came here, and Prince was my sort of teenage hero. I got my first supplementary benefit check, and the first thing that I spent my social on was Parade, Purple Rain, 5 times, and Around the World in a Day.
Do you know, I think Parade is my favourite Prince album. I just love mountains, and I just think it's a magnificent piece of work. Funnily enough, I've just interviewed Maurice Hayes, who is the MD and keyboard player from New Power Generation.
Right.
That's coming out tomorrow, actually. And that was a very interesting thing. That was after that period. But he was part of his touring band for like 10, 15 years and did all the programming and everything. And the stories he tells about Prince. I was lucky enough to actually record a Prince track with one Prince track with Jill Jones. Do you remember Jill Jones? One of his backing singers who did Mia Booker. Yeah. That wasn't the track. It was another track called For Lust. And it was all, for lust I will stretch you across a grand piano and let you see what you can see, and that kind of stuff. It was fairly fruity, and but she was so sexy and beautiful and gorgeous, and but he never got put out. Unfortunately, he came out on the the Prince Vault things that have been coming out, and I was very proud of that. Of course, to get to do a Prince record. Actually, when I was in the studio with Terence, we got a phone call one day from Prince's management at Paisley Park, and he said, Prince would like you to send all your demos to him. And me and Terence went, yeah, seriously. And he was assuming that Terry would be so, or Sananda, should I say now? He gets mad at me if I say it. So Sananda would have been so flattered that he'd just immediately send all his kind of inside dope, And I'm going, we looked at each other. Yeah, go on.
If you speak to Sananda, you must convey my apologies to him, because I got a request on social media from somebody calling themselves Sananda. And as usual with social media, I looked at it and I saw the photograph and I thought, oh, this is somebody using Terence Darby's photograph and calling, and it's obviously not him. I didn't realize that it was actually.
Oh, shit. So did he ignore it?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I just interviewed him.
Changed his name.
Yeah, I just interviewed him, and now he's an interesting character. Yeah, let me tell you. Very talented, great voice, brilliant, but a bit damaged by the industry.
Yes, it's a damager.
Do you feel like it damaged you in any way? I mean, were you frustrated at any? Well, everybody is at some point. But
I don't know if this is a legitimate complaint to make about the industry, but I don't think there's any kind of counsel coming from managers or artists. So I'm sorry, or labels for artists. I feel that you're just invited in, taken to the dinners, champagne's ladled down your throat, and then you sign on the dotted line, and you have no idea what's coming, and there's nobody. Like, I think that record labels should have an office. That's the lady that you go to, that's the man that you go to, who will, tell you what it is that's going on here. Always remember that it's a business.
Yeah.
Somebody had told me, always remember that basically you are creating music with a view for sale, and that's why you sign on the dotted line. I think my experience would have been better. But I thought I was being signed as an artist, and every time I expressed myself, many times when I expressed myself, because people couldn't hear it or couldn't get it, they attacked my artistry. And so I found myself in a place, this was towards the end, where I really couldn't write, because every time I wrote something down, it was like, is that a hook? Is that a hook?
Mm.
And I did actually get to a point after I did the second album with Bernard in 2002, and we had this really hideous experience with an awful human being who just kept us on the label for a year, sacked the person who signed us, wouldn't release us, but told us to our faces that he would never pay attention to our music unless it was on the radio, and even then he wouldn't like it. Told us that we needed to get with the technology more. We actually spent a year accommodating him, and then he turned around and dropped us anyway. And at that point, I thought, well, I'm just going to sing jazz standards from now on, because,
right,
what's the point of me writing anything? That's why that's probably why I responded to you the way I did earlier when you said, when did you realize you were good at songwriting? I'm like, well, am I? Because based on those experiences in the industry, one might argue that I'm not that good at it.
Well, I don't know. That's not true. But I concern myself with the mental health of the artists that I connect with, not only on a professional level, but the students and everything, because I think we owe a duty of pastoral care to their mental well-being, because that's when, apart from anything else, that's when the good shit happens, right? When people are happy and feeling creative, feeling enabled to collaborate in a significant way. And so whenever I worked with artists, I always insisted to the record company that they had no place in the studio at all. I said, look, if you employ me, we need to create, I know it's an ironic term now, but it's like a bubble, right? Which is, we're insulated. we are doing something incredible here. We're creating a piece of magic from nothing. If you mess around with the formula, then it ceases to become magic. So, for instance, if I'd have worked with you at that point, I would have defended you against the record label. And they, because I said to people as a producer, I said, I will always, and this is from the outset, always be on the side of the artist at every point. What we do is deliver high quality product to you that's creative and beautiful, and you put it out and do your bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting to hear you say that, because now I'm at the Architectural Association. That's my job, and I have a unit. It's called the Eureka Unit, and in the Eureka Unit, the subject, the pursuit, is inspirational engineering.
Really?
Because out of those experiences, I decided that it was, what was really important to me, it was vital to me, which is why I went to Birkbeck and studied art history, was that I be inspired.
Yeah.
You can have the voice, you can have the ability, you can have whatever, but if you're not inspired,
yes,
I don't know if I can swear on your show.
You can swear all the fuck you want.
Yeah, if you're not inspired, you're fucked. And so that's what I've been doing ever since, making sure that come what may, the inspiration is alive and well. That's that I see now more than anything as my purpose.
Oh my goodness, that's so great to hear you say that. And so the Architectural Association, how does that connect with your expertise?
Well, there's a unit with a studio within the Architectural Association called the Interprofessional Studio. For architecture postgraduates who are interested in working with artists and performers.
I'm jealous. I want your job. It sounds great.
Well, it sounds like you're doing my job. Don't you do installations and stuff?
I do, yeah. I've done a lot of work with architectural practices, and in fact, I've lectured at the Architectural Association and at Bartlett and all these places. Because, you probably know this already, but when I was first introduced into this world, because what I do is sonic architecture, essentially. It sounds very pretentious, but the 3D sound thing is essentially that. So it's sensory architecture. And, yeah, exactly. We're good at coming up with these pretentious terms, right? And when I was lecturing, and I first went to lecture at Bartlett, for instance, I was talking to the students beforehand and the lecturers, and I was saying, how seriously do you take sound and creativity in your practice? Because, there's all this bollocks about, architecture is frozen sound or whatever, or, I've worked with so many different, like Make, for instance, I've worked with them. They're good future-facing kind of architectural practice. I've worked with Harbour Rogers, who are, obviously done some massive stuff around the world. I work with a place called Grant Associates, who are master planners for big futuristic projects like the Gardens by the Bay in Singapore. They did the big super trees and stuff, and we were going to put an entire, like in the Eden project, they have different biomes. Where they have, plants from around the world in different sections. I was suggesting to them that we do an in-depth research project where we get all the fauna from the different parts of the world and put it in different parts of the gardens. So you could do essentially a sensory trip around the world while you were there. And stuff like that. So the way that sound interacts with architecture for me, I had a place in Venice for nearly 30 years, so it's been a big influence on me, architecture. Yeah. And so how did you get into architecture then? How did that happen?
I didn't really. Really, the extent of my getting into it is studying the history of Western art and architecture.
Right.
Which was, I was at the National Gallery looking at a Fra Angelico painting,
And I thought, this is the key to staying inspired. Go back and do a degree in art history, because then you got
Brilliant.
you got imagery. But the art, the studio at the Architectural Association approached me because they knew that I was a singer and they wanted to bring that kind of expertise in to work with the students.
I would love to speak to you about this offline, actually.
Okay.
I mean, I'd love to come and talk to your students or whatever about my experiences for 20 years in immersive architectural sound. I'm sure they'd be interested in it.
The school would be thrilled,
Yeah, cool. Let's talk about that later. So let me just look at my notes here. So tell me about your work with, obviously, you did really well with McAlmont and Butler. And that was the point where you thought you were going to be when you're in the middle of something really unique and successful, I just think one feels it's going to last forever. I did anyway. And we're all wrong, of course, and we should have known, really. But I mean, you worked for quite a long time together, right? Oh, well, tell me about Mr. Butler.
No, it was such a torrid old time. Bernard had just left. He'd been thrown out of Suede. I'd been working in a group called Thieves. We'd split up. I wanted the first album that I released, the McAlmont album, to be a Thieves album. I campaigned for that, but they said no, because Saul won't let you release it as Thieves, so it has to be a McAlmont record. And I think that was unfortunate, because it made more sense as a Thieves record than it did as a McAlmont record.
Right.
But then my managers had the bright idea of, oh, check this out. Bernard's on his own, David's on his own. Let's get them together and see what happens. And Bernard's aspiration at the time was just to write this great, happy song.
Right.
And he did that.
Yeah.
He listened to Dusty Springfield. He listened to Scott Walker for weeks, and then came up with the fabulous Yes. And of course, Yes did well. Record company gets involved. No, don't be silly. You can't possibly just have a single. You have to write more. And then it went on longer than either of us wanted it to. We fell out, and then we didn't speak for 7 years.
Oh, shoot.
And then in 2002, we got back and made a great record, a record that very few McAlmont Butler fans, so-called, have any idea exists.
Tell us all about it.
Bring it back, 2002. I was sitting down at home one afternoon thinking, oh dear, the way that artists do, what am I going to do with my life? I'm useless. And, when you're a top-line writer, you can really experience that sense of uselessness. And the phone rang. It was Bernard, and Sun came out. And he said, I've been writing some songs and I've been thinking about you, and you're the only person who could really work with me on them. So what do you reckon?
Oh. And
so I met him, and we made our apologies for being young and imbecilic.
Yeah.
We started making... So there's a song on that album. The title track is Bring It Back. And there's a song, the song Bring It Back, there's a line that says, and the sun came out the moment you called, and I'm glad you called. And that was because that's actually what happened. It was grey. Bernard rang. I'm like, oh my God, Bernard, hi, sunshine. Became a lyric in the song.
Oh, you obviously love each other. Come on.
And that was the album that was signed to EMI. We go around the tour. We go around for a national tour on a pink bus. Last day of the tour, pink bus parked on Brighton Beach. Phone rings. Guy who signed us to EMI has been fired from EMI.
Oh,
hands of arsehole man from EMI.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
How often does that happen, that sort of stuff?
It was rotten luck. It was like, oh my God, that's us. Our goose is cooked. And then, my response to that was, I'm not writing anymore. I'm going to become a jazz standard singer. And Bernard went back to work with the Tears.
Anderson,
yeah.
I have to say, just as a side note, that I think Suede are my favourite kind of Britpop band out of all of them. I thought they were very creative and very interesting. That's so sad. I mean, we had a similar situation with Hem 17 where we put out what we thought was a really good album in the mid '90s. Oh, we finished it, and it was on the album of the people who did. It was the guys who did Snap, right? They suddenly got all this money. It was number one all over the world. I Got the Power and all that stuff, and they formed their own label, which is attached to Warner's. And they brought us over to Germany where they were based, and they showed us all their Ferraris and their studios and everything. And they gave us a big advance, and we're going, this is great. And then we finished the album. They loved it. 2 weeks later, they said, oh, we're bored with it. We're dissolving the company. And so the rights reverted back to Warner's, who got no interest in the album at all. So this shit happens all the time, you know.
Yeah. That sounds like the industry, and that's very interesting for me to hear right now. I'm very apposite because I've just finished this album with Sean. I had this luxury of working on it from 2016 until now. We haven't been solidly working on it during that period, but we've been getting on with our lives and working on it when we can, which has been great because it's given us plenty of time to think about the material in the gaps. And I'm really pleased with the outcome. But suddenly, it's this body of work that we've been alone with on the 18th floor of a tower block in Mile End mostly, lovingly and intimately working on this material. And now it's about to go into the hands of the whoever.
Really?
And then you don't know what's going to happen to it because it's, okay, the record's finished. Who's going to put it out? What kind of nonsense?
Oh.
I haven't been in the industry really since 2002. So what kind of nonsense awaits?
You won't recognise the industry now, I don't think. It's but, the thing is, you've got a fantastic reputation and, you have... The stuff that you've done, you've never kind of... relinquished your credibility, should we say? So you still have credibility now. I know you don't roll your eyes.
No, just like, have I?
You still, no. But I mean, I can always tell when things come from. I don't even have to hear it. I know it'll come from an authentic place. I know because you're an artist. You're not just like some kind of, money grabbing, metric pumping, Spotify list. Needing kind of guy. You do things from a heartfelt place, clearly, and so I and also it's indicative that because you work with David Arnold, and these are highly credible people, of course. Tell us about the David Arnold thing, by the way.
I remember hearing Play Dead for the first time,
right,
and trying to get my managers to find this guy. I'm like, this is somebody that I should work with. But nothing came of it. Or I don't know what inquiries they made or anything like that, but it didn't happen. And then Yes happened with Bernard, and that's when quite a few people checked in to see what I was up to and what I was going to be doing next. And one of them is David Arnold, and it was just before he was making his pitch for composer to the Bond. Very cunning ruse, I know. Let's do a big, splashy album of interpretations of Bond themes and see if we can get the job. And of course, they gave it to him. But he wanted me to do Diamonds Are Forever. And I said, I'm only going to do it if I don't have to change the gender. Otherwise, but it really annoys me when the man that got away becomes the gal that got away for Frank Sinatra. Why can't Frank Sinatra identify with a female's emotions? That sort of attitude. So I was like, only if. And David's answer was, sure, the album has to have a sense of humor.
That's great.
Well, as long as I get to say, men are mere mortals who are not worth going to your grave for. That's fine. And then, the relationship kind of carried on from there. We did work on some tracks for my third album, which was Little Communication.
Yeah.
And also Craig Armstrong appeared around about that time.
No, I love his work so much. I think his orchestrations are so beautiful. And that all came from that kind of. I know him from Massive Attack and all that stuff as well. But in fact, Massive Attack, I must get them on the podcast. Thinking about it, they have such an influence on me. I loved all that stuff.
I did have the pleasure of going on the road with Craig and actually experiencing the. There was a lovely show he did in Ghent. They have an annual the Ghent Film Festival, and the Ghent Film Festival, as far as I know, is the only film festival that is about the soundtrack. And he headlined there, and I performed with him there. So really great memories with Craig. Fun nights out in Glasgow. I met him when the plan was for me to do Unfinished Sympathy with them at the Reading Festival.
Really? Oh my God.
My managers at the time, in my mind, it was like, oh, yeah, I'll do Unfinished Sympathy.
Yeah.
Go to Reading Festival with Massive, have a great day out, and go home. Whereas my managers thought that I should be paid thousands of pounds for it. And I was like, and that killed it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean about, taking your art and putting it in the hand of businessmen.
It's interesting.
That's not right sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, we've occasionally had managers, but they never stuck. So right from 1980, really, up to the present day, myself and Glenn, who was the only two original members left of MS17, we've always looked after our own business. Apart from, obviously, you need a lawyer, right, and an agent and a logistics manager. But I mean, we do all the strategy and the kind of deals and everything. And I always encourage young artists to consider that, because we did it right from the start. And I think if you have a direct contact with a record label, it's a different relationship you have with the label. Because if they think everything has to be funneled through management, it's different. Yeah. But
when things got really busy, did you fare well without a manager? Didn't you find yourself doing more admin than art?
No, because we didn't tour back in the day. We were a studio band. So that was our domain.
Nice.
And we only started touring in the mid-90s, funnily enough.
Right.
So 17 years after we formed, quite appropriately. And but I've got a question for you, right? So how come obviously your voice, for whatever reason, springs to mind whenever people think of orchestral projects? You've done several, haven't you, really? I mean, you work well with orchestras. And what do you think it is about is it because of the range of the voice, or you have a natural empathy with large arrangements, or is it been something that's just organically clumped around you? I'm curious.
Well, this is my personal joke with myself, is that I didn't really start believing whatever it was until Michael Nyman showed up.
Right. But on the panel, by the way.
Time there'd been Bernard, David Arnold, and Craig Armstrong. And I thought, okay, are you sure you want me? And then when Michael showed up, he's like, okay, David, I think it's time that you started to acknowledge that actually there is something going on here.
Yeah, there is.
I don't know why they reached out.
Well, obviously, a certain amount of it is because you'd done it before and they knew that you could cope with it.
Yeah, it's the voice. It's certainly my dreams couldn't have been better aimed, when it came to working with people. But I on tour when I've worked with sound engineers, they tell stories about how big Liam Gallagher's voice is. And or somebody like that, and then I ask, so what about mine? They say, no, your voice isn't that big.
Well, maybe that's a good thing because it doesn't occupy. I'm not saying it isn't that big. It's very impressive. But I mean, just talking about timbrally, maybe because it fits so beautifully into the middle of a big orchestral arrangement. It's not like you're not battling against the arrangement. You just fit beautifully into it. I mean, you're a go-to person for beautiful interpretations of existing songs. You know, for great original songs, for different styles of context. I mean, it sounds like I'm blowing smoke up your ass. I'm honestly not trying to. I'm not trying to do it. But it's like it's a rare thing, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
You have a wide range of possibilities for your voice that a lot of people don't have, and it's to do with your personality as well. You know, you're obviously an amenable kind of chap who is open to creative contexts, right? I mean, not everybody would go. A lot of people would go, you know, Michael Nyman is a contemporary, you know, he's a proper contemporary classical composer. You know, a lot of people will go, oh, I don't know, it's a bit outside my comfort zone. And I get the sense that you're the opposite. You go, oh, I quite like that. It's a bit of a challenge.
Back to the top line thing.
Right.
The only control, for want of a better term, that I have there is actually working with somebody who has a really strong vision of what they want to create.
Right.
And it needs a voice to work with. So I think that's the thing that brings all of those musicians together. The guys that we talked about and Sean right now, is that they, you know, they're more than just musicians. They're executive producers. They like know how to fashion a
yeah.
And then I'm quite happy to go into that because they're not the only persons who make offers.
I bet. Hey, tell her, come on, spill the beans. Who have you turned down?
Well, who have I turned down? I don't know. I don't remember who I've turned down.
Oh, that's convenient. BEF? No. I said, if I do another BEF album or a live show, I'm going to invite you. And
I'll almost certainly say yes because you are Martin Ware.
Oh, well, thanks very much. But you're correct there. I am Martin Ware. That's one thing you are right about. If I was to ask you, say, for instance, because what we often do with the BEF shows is we get you to do your biggest hit in a kind of electronic-y style. And we have great backing singers and yada, yada, and all that stuff, and great musicians. And then we ask you to do your, whoever it is, to do their favourite cover version. What would your favourite cover version be? Given that you'd have a band of great musicians, slightly electronically tinged, beautiful female backing vocals.
So, do I need to choose one with backing vocals?
No, they could fuck off. Yeah.
Oh, actually, okay. In 1975. I was utterly transported and have been transported ever since by one song, which is my favorite song, my favorite record ever. And that was Art Garfunkel's I Only Have Eyes for You.
Wow.
And a few years later, some years later in New York, I heard the original pop take on that. I did already know the Busby Berkeley one from the movie, but then I heard the Flamingos version of that.
Right.
Flamingos version?
I don't know that. Flamingo. Oh, the original one, right? Yeah. I do know it.
I heard that, and I was similarly transported. So, if anybody ever asks me what my favorite record is, I say it's the two pop versions of I Only Have Eyes for You.
And you'd like to have a crack at that?
I haven't. And as I say that to you now, I find it remarkable that I haven't yet. But no, I haven't done that.
Yeah, but that sounds like a good idea. Then that's what maybe we'll have a crack at that.
Yeah, I think that would work really nicely electronically as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, the first thing that I ever did with Glenn, whose voice has developed beyond now, because he works with Holy and Tony Visconti, who I interviewed the other day, and they do a tribute to Bowie kind of thing, and Glenn does all those things. And the first thing, his audition piece was Wichita Lineman, Jimmy Webb. Jimmy Webb's my favourite songwriter of all time, and
that.
yeah, and that was pure electronics. I mean, there was not even any electronic drums or anything. It was just like an abstract soundscape. It was beautiful. Anyway, okay, got to the fun bit of it now. Well, it's all fun.
What's the fun with it?
It's where we ask you to tap dance. No, I ask everybody like smash hits type questions, like what's your favourite, right? So. And I don't give any advance warning because I want to get a spontaneous response. Okay. There's nothing controversial, don't worry. What's your favourite film?
All About Eve.
One of them. Sorry? All About Eve. Oh, that was quick. That's the quickest anybody's ever come. That must have had an impact on you. It's a good film.
I sat down and quantified it the other year. It's like, okay, which film have you seen? Which film have you lost count viewing, and which one can you quote better than any other? And most importantly, which one shocks you whenever you watch it because it has occupied your language?
Wow.
It's like a lot of the responses that I have, seemingly instinctive responses that I have to people, I go to All About Eve. It's like, oh my God, I say that all the time.
Really? I'm going to have to go and watch it again now.
Oh, you've said so often, so many times.
I mean, I've seen it, but, like, it's one of those things. It's bank holiday, you put it on. But, so favourite book. Yeah, favourite book.
Favorite book would have to be The Starlight Barking by Dodie Smith.
I don't know that. Can you tell us what?
It's the sequel to 101 Dalmatians.
Is it?
It's the 1960s psychedelic sequel to 101 Dalmatians, where the Dalmatians wake up and all of the humans are asleep. And then the Prime Minister's Dalmatian, Cadbig, starts beaming messages from London saying, come to London, something's really important. The Dalmatians discover that they can fly, and all of the dogs from all over the country fly to London. And then Sirius, the Lord of the Dog Star, comes down, lands on Nelson's column and says, you are the slaves of these humans. Come to the Dog Star and be free. And the Dalmatians vote to stay with the humans. And it has never been turned into a movie.
It's got to be a movie, hasn't it? It's perfect.
It's brilliant.
Well, let's put some money together and let's buy the rights, because that would definitely, in today's CGI world, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? You'd think.
When I was a kid, read that book over and over.
What's it called again? Sorry.
Starlight Barking.
Oh, come on! I can see that on the list of films on. Yeah.
If I got the surname right, let me just quickly check that. Starlight Barking, because there's a Dodie Gray as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
Dodie Smith. Yeah.
The Smiths, right? Okay. This is a good idea. Favorite TV show, present or past?
Oh, now you're asking.
Or series?
I think it would have to be Mad Men or The Wire. Not sure.
Yeah.
One of those two.
The Wire's really. I mean, I like both of them, but
But then closely followed by Life and Loves of a She-Devil.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Crikey, you're so decisive. I love this. Okay. So a moment in your life that which was like either a light bulb moment, an epiphanal moment, or a kind of fork in the road where you went, oh, that's what I've got to do, or something that really changed you,
Something that really changed me. Okay, now,
It better be good, because I told you.
I go back to my childhood. My sister became obsessed with. My sister's an artist,
Right.
portrait painter, and children's illustrator. And at a point in my youth, she became completely obsessed as she was developing with a virgin and child.
Right.
So my mother's mate thought this should be encouraged and just started bombarding my sister with virgins and with Italian artists from the Renaissance. And when I got to that point, sort of, okay, not really in the industry anymore, what am I going to do with my life? And I was standing in front of that Fra Angelico painting. That was because I was going into galleries all the time and seeing these images that my sister loved.
Right.
That was the direction. So I went to the National Gallery one afternoon, and the guy was stood next to me, and the guy said, I wish that I had, completed my art history studies whilst I was at university, because he dropped out. And at that point, I thought, right, I'm applying to Birkbeck. It was the only university I applied to. I got in, and life's been great ever since I graduated, really.
I think education is the finest thing you can do finest gift you can give yourself.
Absolutely.
And I'm an autodidact. I've never been to university, even though I'm a visiting professor and a DSc and a DMUs and all honorary, I hasten to add. But
The University of
the University of Life, exactly. But I do honestly think that education and creativity are the two greatest gifts you can give yourself. Anyway, on that subject, who's your favourite visual or conceptual artist?
Visual or conceptual artist? Ooh, now you're asking.
The tough one, I know, because there's millions, but
okay. It's one of those. When I think about this later, it'll be, I should have said.
yeah.
But
If we just want, I'll get you out of jail.
I really rate Damien Hirst.
Controversial.
Controversial, but I went to the retrospective at Tate Modern, and I'm absolutely blown away by some of the wacky ideas that he has, and I particularly love that Black Sun that he made entirely of flies. I think it's extraordinary. I was really struck by the Virgin Bride that was standing in the courtyard of the Royal Academy. I really admire the concept of the butterflies eating the fruit and living and dying in the same space. That kind of peculiar marriage between cadavers and the living, and the sort of playful color of it.
Yeah.
I rate Damien Hirst, and I thought the one about the diamond-studded skull, I thought that was absolutely stunning. Controversial.
It's controversial. I mean, I admire certain elements of what he did, what he does. I just love Brian Sewell's description of him.
All Brian Sewell. That'll be good. I know it.
2 words: shiny shit. It is funny though. I used to love him. Anyway, ambition unfulfilled.
Yeah, this will be travel. This will be going somewhere. I'm pretty sure of that. In India, stone temples in India.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of them. Certainly.
Have you been to South America? Have you been to South America?
I lived there.
What? Oh, of course you did. I meant kind of like, well, I mean, maybe further south, like Chile, Peru, or on the...
No, I have not, sir.
Yeah. Amazing. Blue Mountain.
About Yucatan and...
No, that's Mexico, isn't it? I think Yucatan.
What's the place in Peru?
Machu Picchu.
Machu Picchu.
Yeah, the Machu Picchu Trail. And Lake Titicaca and all that stuff. floating islands with actual tribes on them that look like they are from National Geographic, from 1950 something. Incredible. Anyway, that blew my mind. And going into the middle of the, I don't know if you were near the rainforest in where you were in South America. Were you?
Yes. Guyana has has 3 counties. Demerara, which is where most of the people live, the smallest county, quite coastal, where the sugar comes from.
Right.
Berbice, where my mother was born, which is like a rural farming area, and then the wilderness that Venezuela have been trying for decades to take from Guyana.
Right.
It was originally occupied by the Spanish, but one of the great things about it is that the rainforest is virgin and unspoiled and untouched.
God. It blew my mind. Yeah, I stayed there for like a week in a lodge with no walls, so all the wildlife could come in at night and everything. Crazy shit. Anyway, okay. Which is the favorite of your own work?
Ooh, the album that hasn't seen the light of day yet. I'm very happy with it.
What's it going to be called? What's it going to be called?
I can't tell you yet.
Oh, NDA.
Band called McHi-Fi. Before that, it was The Glare with Michael, and before that, it was A Little Communication.
Right. Okay. Brilliant. And who's your favourite? Let's see. I have a selection of these, see, and I adapt them to whoever I'm talking to. Finally, we'll say who's your favourite other musical artist or composer?
Well, the favorite album of all time is Guilty.
Really?
I love Stevie Wonder. I love Prince. I adore Johnny Mitchell. They're all very, very dear to my heart and very, very important to me. But actually, if I'm going to be 100% honest, it would have to be Bazza.
Bazza?
Barry Gibb, sorry.
All right. I thought you said Barry White for a second.
I adore the Bee Gees.
I think that they are the 20th century's, late 20th century's greatest songwriters. I've always believed that. And even when we were in a kind of experimental electronic band in the late 70s, we always stuck up for them amongst all the trendies, It's them and ABBA,
That's one of the things with the latest album. I'm like, oh, somebody's, letting their Barry Love show.
Is it? Okay, that's good. Well, what an absolute joy talking to you. It's been brilliant. We could talk for ages. We've all got stuff to do. Maybe we'll do part 2 later in the summer when your album, when the album comes out, or when's it going to come out?
Don't know. Can't tell you that, but definitely this year.
We could do a special.
That'd be great.
That should be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I like the idea of that. Because, I think people need to check out.
Have you met Sean? Do you know Sean? Hi-Fi Sean?
I don't think so.
He's a fan. He's a big fan of yours.
Is he? Oh,
Yeah.
crikey.
Oh, this I have to tell you. I've got some friends living around the corner. I'm in Brixton, and a friend called Antoine who likes to have gatherings.
Yeah.
So we all pile over to Antoine's and hang out. It's it's the black queer crew. We're all black gay men.
Right.
About six or 8 of us, depending on what's going on. And one night, we just sort of slipped, as you do, into 80s, and Temptation came on.
All right.
You have never heard such a racket. 50-something black gay men going. But Antoine, the American, was sitting there like saying, "What the hell is wrong?" Yeah, I wish I'd recorded it. It was.
Oh my God, that sounds hilarious. I'd love to have heard that. For some reason, there's two things that Temptation has been kind of, I don't know, adopted by. It's become a strange kind of gay anthem, one of them anyway. But also, amazingly, we were invited to headline a goth festival, right? Check it out. Whitby Goth Festival.
Oh, Dragfest.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing. Entire families turning up in steampunk outfits and stuff. Anyway, and we're going, when they asked us, said, "You do realise we're not a goth band, don't you?" Or anything like it. They said, no, but Temptation is like one of their anthems because it fits into their lifestyle, right? I'm going, weird. Anyway, we headlined 2 years in a row and they absolutely loved it. And of course, we dressed up in all the gear and, did all that shit. We like a bit of dressing up. Anyway, what a joy. And right, two things I want to say before we leave. One is, when all this bullshit is over, we should meet up and we're gonna, we'll go and have a proper chinwag in the Groucho or something. Ho. But secondly, if you need any help or you fancy a free remix for anything on your album, I'll do it for nothing.
Actually, what I will do when we finish speaking is I'll email you the link, the SoundCloud link. So
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that'll be okay with Sean.
And, no obligation to even use it, but it's just I'm a fan of yours, so.
Well, if have a listen to it, and don't be honest with what you think.
Never tell me to be honest. It's a real mistake.
Really?
I come from Sheffield. I have no filter, I'm afraid.
That's all right. Lay it on. Sure, it'll be interesting.
It'll be great, man. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Oh, please do send me some stuff, yeah?
Yeah, we'll do.
All right, man. What an absolute joy. I'm really looking forward to it.
And I'll be in touch in a couple of weeks because I've got a bit of a backlog to deal with because of the.
Yeah.
I'd love you to be on my podcast.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, shit. Definitely. Yeah, 100%.
It's called Ham. It's history, art, and music. And basically, it's 3 questionnaires. One is Trotters and Truffles, which is about the year of your birth, and then Merry Porklings, which is about something that makes you really happy, and then another one which is about your place of birth. So what I'd need from you ahead of that would just be your date of birth and where you were born.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. I'm all over it. Brilliant.
For halfway through the summer, I reckon.
Yeah, cool. I'm around. All right, man.
We'll be in touch before that.
Yeah. Lots of love. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.